Just how close were the club to going out of business at its darkest time?
We were 8 hours from going out of business. I rang Steve if I always remember it, I was at the Clifton training ground, and I said, I'm got to go to the administrator tomorrow. We have to close this down. We can't pay our bills. And of course, as you know, that's illegal. So I already had the appointment. I was going to do it. And Steve said, well, Chris, let's just think of how much do you really need to get over this short-term period. I said, quite a large number, but not a huge number. And he said, well, I'll do that. And so that was the turning point, really, for us to go forward from that point on.
Did you ever consider just packing it in, or even when it was 8 hours before going to see the administrators, was it always a case of you were intent on dragging this club through?
Yeah, I was always, absolutely. I think as Steve said at the club dinner, I was never going to give in. I mean, obviously administration, I was hoping was another step to just keep it going until we could find a solution. No, I would never give up on this club until as long as I had a breath inside of me.
When you look back at 10-11 and the 50% pay cuts and that summer of 2011 and the exodus of players, and you compare it to now in quite a short turnaround, do you sometimes have to just pinch yourself and think, this has been incredible?
Yeah, it has been incredible, but I believe you get out of life what you put into it, and a lot of people have put a lot of work into this rugby club, and we shouldn't forget those players who took their pay cuts. Obviously, some of them left, and no animosity to anybody who left. We couldn't afford to pay them, so that was their right to leave, and we ripped up their contracts. But a number of the players at the time, said, "Okay, we'll help you with this club." Okay, it's painful for them to take pay cuts, but they supported this club, and people like James Merriman and Ian Grieve and Crompton, these guys really got behind us and then encouraged the rest of the players to sign up. So we shouldn't forget lots of other people helped and get through it. So, but it was an awful time. And we're incredibly fortunate now to have someone like Steve who has the vision and the financial resources to get this club to where it needs to be. And let's be clear, Steve is not he's not in the business of just throwing money at things. Steve sees the opportunity for this Bristol Sport vision of his. And so, it's absolutely about investing to where we want to be. When we get to where we want to be, which is a top 4 side playing in Europe, this rugby club actually will be able to make money. Whether we want it to make money is a different debate, but it'll certainly be able to invest in the very best players and continue to grow to be a top 4 side. Stephen Mine's ambition, we want to win what is now the Champions Cup. We will not be happy until we win that cup.
Are we financially now in a position where the club can compete for players across the board in world rugby?
Yeah, I think, as you've seen, people like, Ian Evans and Matthew Morgan, Ryan Jones, everybody wanted these players. We had to compete really hard for them. And it's actually been quite tough to persuade players of that standard to play in the second tier, because obviously all of those players that we've signed could easily be playing in the top half of the Premiership. So really quite a tough sell, but what we've always been honest with them. We're saying, look, we're going to have the best club rugby stadium in Europe. I keep saying it, and of course, unless you're in the business, you're looking at plans, people don't see it, because that's what I do for a living, so I can see it. And the stadium is going to be breathtaking. It really is. In 2.5 years' time, we're going to have this fantastic stadium. So people, can see that vision. They can see that we're investing for the future. They can see that we have this ambition to be at the very top of the English game and then the European game. I don't underestimate it. It is difficult to sign some players because, Saracens, Bath, all the rest of them want the very best players. So we have to work out. Once we get promoted, that barrier goes. Because we'll have the stadium, we've got this great city, great place to live. So we'll have no problem in attracting the players.
Despite that, yourself, Andy Robinson, Steve Lansdowne, the key has always been to be financially sustainable and to see young Bristolian lads to still be playing their part in the team, the likes of your Mitch Eady's, your Marcus who've come through the academy. That's still absolutely critical going forward.
It's core to the strategy, yeah. And we're still, even with the signings we've made, I think in the last 2 games we've had 5 of the starters have been coming through our academy. which is great actually. Not many clubs, even in the Premiership, are saying that 5 of their starting team are coming through their academy.
How pleased have you been so far with the move to Ashton Gate? The attendances have been far and away the best in the Championship, and in some cases better than most Premiership clubs. I mean, for you, that must just be a real validation of the efforts that have been put in place to move.
Yeah, I mean, it's been better than my wildest dreams. I always knew it was going to be good. You know, obviously, being at the sort of centre of what goes on. You know, the Mem, of course, we've had some great memories there, but they are memories. You know, our predecessors lost the ownership of the stadium. And from that moment on, really, it's never yours. It was never our stadium. We were sort of hankering after the history. And so, you know, we were almost squatting on our own home. So we didn't control anything. We couldn't go forward. By bringing the Bristol Sport model in and bringing the administration of both clubs under one umbrella has allowed us to focus more on the real activities. So we're putting more people, more expertise into marketing and selling tickets, etc., which is clearly having an advantage. The other thing is, I think pretty well without exception, we've kept all of our hardcore fans, and they've been fantastic through the years. We shouldn't forget that. Through all those difficult times, they kept turning up, they kept supporting us. So again, great credit to them. But now we've opened up a whole new raft of fans, football club members, south of the river, lots of chimney pots around Ashton Gate. And I think that's where a lot of those people have come from, these new supporters. Now, if we can keep winning and playing the exciting rugby we are, we'll keep them, and hopefully we can get some more.
And that's just one of the benefits of the Bristol Sport relationship. You touched on it there, of opening up to a new support, but this really is the foundations of something that could be something quite special, isn't it, the Bristol Sport partnership? Yeah,
well, I think Steve's legacy, he's very keen to inspire people to play and watch sport. That's the legacy he wants to leave, I think, on Bristol. And also, the catalyst for that is clearly the new stadium. That gives us the home to play in. But then, it's a much wider model by doing the basketball, by doing Dino, the racing driver, and the ladies' football and rugby. And more to follow, So, we will have an umbrella of sporting activities that allows people to play whatever sport they want to, but also because hopefully we're operating at the top end of the game, it inspires people to do it. And I think that goes back, ultimately into schools. We want to get through our community programs more and more involved in the young children and schools, so that we encourage people to enter the sport. We all know sport is good. Good for young people. It gets them off the streets, it gets them interested in things, it teaches them respect, and it's win-win. And so that is our model.